Okay, so we're on to the Q&A now. Happy to take questions and answers, questions from people. And we'll go through the questions on the members area. Or sorry, do you hear me on the members area on the chat? Can you see, Gary?
Yeah.
We're like newsreaders here. Sharon Tobe. So, first question there from Susan Brown. Do they have to hold a medical card for the full year? I've only had it on until May. I don't think so. I think it's at the year end.
Yeah,
you're good.
Not 100% sure, Susan. Haven't come across
it. For non-domiciled remittances, are they liable to PRSI and USC if tax resident?
I think there will be.
Yeah. Can you upload IT checklist down and just refer to? Yeah, that's done. Irish resident and foreign domiciled with foreign rental income and tax abroad. Will it be taxed again in Ireland if brought into this state?
Yes, with the credit for the foreign taxpayer.
Can you repeat how to download the tax guide? That's done. The guides, everything's in the chat to download there. Online Form 11 cannot deal with change of status from separated spouse.
Sorry, I haven't come across that. I imagine you should be able to. Is that one of the ones though that you need to notify revenue by the 31st of March? And there's certain things you need to do to notify revenue, maybe if it hasn't been notified. But if you can't do it on the online one, I'd imagine sending in my inquiries or one of the helplines might be your best bet.
Yeah. If Prince, this is the case with the guitarist with the thumb, had claimed 50% of the medical expenses, would that have been allowed? I think under the current regime, I think yes, that is allowed now. That it's if there's an agreed duality with the inspector and the dual proportion is agreed, I think that's okay.
I think they use the term just and reasonable apportionment.
Yeah. If a self-employed individual uses their personal vehicle in the course of their trade, can they claim a capital allowance for wear and tear on the vehicle or a part thereof? Of course.
Yeah.
Why not? Up to 24,000 if it's a car a year, and not a problem. What class of PRSI does proprietary director pay when over 66? None. Once you're over 66, you're out of the PRSI now.
I don't know, Pat, if is the class significant for some reason, M or J? I think there is none payable. I don't know if you need to put in a class or whatever. I don't know. I'm not great at PRSI, to be honest, but I'm not sure if that's relevant. But there's whether there is a PRSI class put in or not, there should be no PRSI payable.
Can capital allowances be claimed on warehouses or grain drying and storage facilities? So the first point I'd make there is there's been a couple of cases in relation to industrial buildings about warehouses that are beside the factory or part of the factory. But a warehouse on its own, if you just have a business where you're just warehousing goods for people and storing them in warehouses, I don't think you get capital allowances. Grain drying machinery or whatever, I think would qualify for plant and machinery. But generally storage, it's not allowable for capital allowances.
Yeah, I think the issue with that is the old case about kind of breaking bananas quicker, and I think the test was subjecting goods to a process, and that's an old case come back to the 80s or 90s. So I don't know if that test still applies, but you just have something sitting there. I can't see her subjecting goods to a process. So there might be some angle on it, as Alan said, the plant and machinery might be the safer bet. Wouldn't be 100% sure. You need to look at the facts carefully. I'd imagine if it's grain drying or storage, the sort of thing that maybe one of the agri bodies would know, or who's very good at that stuff is Declan McAvoy. If you want to reach out to Declan McAvoy, he'd be good on that stuff.
Yeah. Online Form 11 cannot deal with change of status from separated spouse to widowed. I think, as Gary said, talk to the revenue, Ross.
Ross Helpline.
Yeah, Ross Helpline. If one property which is in joint names, do you tick the box for both member and spouse having a property, or just pick one? I think both. Both.
Yeah.
If jointly assessed and one spouse in employment and another sole trader, can losses of sole trader be offset against spouse? Yeah.
Yes, I think so, but I'm not sure. Is that one of the ones where you have the 31,750 limit per annum? I think it might be. So I think in principle, yes, but check the detail. Sorry, just while Alan's typing the next one. Yes, it's a section 23 of the loss forward. Just be sure it is section 23. That it is a capital, that it is a case 5 loss forward. You're correct. You should see it as losses forward coming with older 23. Is that correct? And there's no time limit. Yes, until it's fully used up. But I think you have to be careful. Is that not one of the reliefs that's affected by that mad USC surcharge? Because it's a bad relief. So I think that 5% USC surcharge might be in play there. So just watch that. That's in with the USC stuff.
Yeah. Is there any circumstances where it is not advisable to claim week 53 relief? Can't think of any.
Don't know. I haven't come across it.
Is a widow tax credit claimed only in the first 5 years following bereavement? And what is the marital status to show in year 7 following bereavement? Widowed.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you have to declare interest earned from deposit
At the risk of a
accounts?
bad joke, if you're on Tinder, you might say available.
Do you have to declare interest earned from deposit accounts?
Yes.
Yes. Is carers benefit taxable? Yes.
Yeah.
It's on the slides.
Mhm.
In the return. Pension contributions under migrant relief. Is it okay to claim German pension contributions against Irish trade income? Qualifying overseas pensions plan, there's tax relief for those. So, you look at the section, but if it's essentially a pension within the EU, there is relief because Ireland can't give tax relief to Irish pensions and not give it to EU pensions. So I think you do get the relief, and you do need to upload the certificate when completing the Form 11, just to stop any queries from revenue.
As the lawyers would say, I concur.
I cannot locate the guide. It's on the chat there, Ray Mulligan. Are the slides available for download in the chat? Form 11 is not accepting the 6-digit number for company directorships. Don't know what that is.
I haven't come across that.
Olive Hearty, couple living in South, if spouse received North of Ireland pension, is the UK deducted from the pension allowable against Irish tax, and where do you claim same in Form 11?
I'll hop in there, and Olive, I covered that. I think if you look at the Ireland UK Treaty article, I think it's 17 or somewhere around there. Ireland has, or ROI has taxing rights, so the NI should be told that they're resident be ROI, and it should be paid gross. And if the tax was withheld in the north, the correct procedure is to seek a refund and tax the full amount in the south. That's the correct position. I don't know if you tried to pull a fast one, lob in the credit, whether you get away with it or not, but I don't think it's right, because Ireland ROI has full taxing rates.
Yeah, what does separate assessment and separate treatment mean? Well, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any issues where you didn't fill in the chargeable assets, or no? As long as the IT38 is filed and paid normally. That's the point I was making.
Yeah.
You are in danger of filing an incorrect tax return if you don't fill in all the boxes correctly, and that includes the gifts as whatever received. You have to fill in everything.
And just to finish out that, yes, revenue is getting hotter on the 80% group threshold, and also what they've become quite sticky about is ag relief for business relief. You're supposed to record the claim even if you're not within NASA's or the 80%.
Yeah. What does separate assessment and separate treatment mean? I think separate treatment is the same as what's called single assessment. So separate assessment means you're jointly assessed as a married couple, but the allowances and credits are split between you according to who paid or who is entitled to the allowances and credits. Separate treatment means you're treated for tax purposes as single individuals. Artist exemption, do you need to apply each year or just for each piece of artistic work? There's two different types of artistic exemption, one where you claim for a particular work and one where you get it for all the works you produced. If you're Seamus Heaney, well, he's dead now, but if you were, Seamus Heaney would get it for all of his works, you know, whereas if you're writing book by book, then you need to claim for each particular one if you're not regarded as an artist as such. But you can apply for under both headings to revenue. Okay, where
That's it's behind debrief 177 of 23, and it's TDM 38-01-04 capital G.
this is the changes
Yeah,
from
yeah.
2022 and
Yeah,
2011. I recently saw a payslip with BIK in income section, but it was matched by BIK offset in post-tax deductions. Can you explain this? No.
Short answer is no. That's a
No.
payroll thing.
Payroll.
Talk to whoever did the payroll.
Yeah. The rent credit asks for quite a bit of detail on the landlord, but allows you to move on without completing it all. Do you think those details are omitted, will it cause issues?
If you can get it through, great. It's the sort of thing my big queries lately. At this time of year, I think people just try and figure out a way to get the damn thing in. If it works for you, grand, but it could come back to haunt you. Behind, there is quite good guidance. It's on page in that TDM I just mentioned, 38-01-04G. There's good guidance there on what is needed. I think the RTB number is perhaps the most important one. I know I have a lad in UCD and he gave me that letter. I'm going to do the return. That seems to be important. So just that's what I'd be looking for.
Yeah, home carers. If the home carer has 3,000 in employment, PAY credit works out at 600. Does that mean the home carer gets 1,700 personal and 1,600 home carer plus 300 PAY? Yeah, the PAY credit, you know, if your income is insufficient to absorb all the tax credits,
Yeah.
the personal and the PAY and the home care, then one of them is going to be cut back.
Yeah, there's an adjustment. I think in the writing guidance on there's an adjustment showing how that works on internet.
Yeah, they're not what's called refundable tax credits. So tax credits don't give rise to tax refunds. They just eliminate your tax, and that's all. Fiona Kane, with regard to PRSI and non-resident, we have a client who lives in the north of Ireland, self-employed in the public. What is their liability in regard to PRSI? So the way that works is if they're living in the north of Ireland, they should be paying UK national insurance, and then they can get a form of, it used to be called the A1 for moving within the EU. I'm not sure how that works now with Brexit, but you would not be paying PRSI in Ireland for several years. I think it's 3 years at least, and then you can after that you decide what you're doing. But potentially you could end up with duplicate PRSI after 3 years in both. But that's as much as I know about that. Are prescription glasses an eligible health expense? I think so, yes.
I'm not sure.
Spectacles?
Yeah.
No, normal.
Yeah. Should I think I went up recently. Used to be IT15 had a really good list of what's qualifying, so it might be okay. I'm not 100% sure. Alan's insured to me, so yeah.
Go to the checklist, the tax checklist in Tax World for health expenses, and should be in there. Clarify whether you.
Yeah.
But I think if it's quite serious eyesight problems, it's probably okay. If it's just normal spectacles, probably not.
The next one, EWS, it used to be, but I think they changed it in 2015, so it's no longer a bad relief.
Yeah, that's correct. Where do I find the guidance? Can a parent claim the rent credit where the child is staying in college accommodation on campus?
I hope so, because I'm familiar with the Form 11 that will be claiming a short.
Client started a food van business in the year and purchased a trailer. Can they expense the full cost of the trailer in 2022? No,
I'd say that's a capital asset.
Over 8 years, 12.5% a year.
Yeah.
Do the numbers or sections you're calling, can we look for more information? Are they in the guide to income tax? Everything in the book that you've got, the guide to completing tax return, is referenced into the legislation. So any particular relief that we're talking about, it has the cross-reference to the TCA in it. For a wife who is director of a company with no shares, should you tick the box to say she is related to her employer?
Is what you're asking there, Katie, is she's director of a company with no shares?
She means she has no shares in the company.
Right. But who has the shares? Is it a husband and wife situation, or is it a third party situation?
It's probably the husband.
Yeah, if it's the husband, yes, she should be S1. If it's a third party situation and it's not the husband, then she's just a normal employee. I don't think she is related.
Yeah, Catherine Phillips. When claiming trans-border relief and there is self-employed income in Ireland, can you claim exemption from PRSI on all income?
I don't think so, because you have Irish income,
No.
and trans-border is only employment income anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Walsh, a sole trader who turns 66 and stops paying PRSI. I take it this will only kick
Yes.
in for the 23 return. Yes. Kieran O'Donoghue, hi lads, I'm a pensioner. I hope to sell forestry trees, but not the land. Will I be caught for CGT?
There's a specific exemption, Kieran. If you want to send either as an email, can guide you towards it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but somewhere in the 560s, I think it is, in the DCA, there's specific rules about CGT, and there's a different rule between the land and the standing timber, I think is the term. So it's a bit tricky. So if you have more details, happy to have a look at it.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Foreign pension lump sums again, please, Gary.
Yeah, where else is it? There's TDM, and I think it's 113 and 23. I think it is, Ronan. It says it kicks in from the start of 23. There's an awful lot of very good work examples of that. When Tom was looking at it, I was a bit surprised, and delighted to be surprised to the extent that I think the first 200 grand of a lump sum is automatically out. Is what it seems to say. I would have thought it would be the 25% thing, but it's 113 of 23 is the TDM. There's an awful lot of back and forth to talk over it. And even though it's not in the TDM, it says it kicks in from 1 January 23, revenue will look back. So if you have people affected in 22, that's where it needs to go. If you have a specific question on and drop it in the email, we can have a look at it.
Okay, anonymous attendee, ERR question. Gift vouchers. What's ERR?
Employer reporting, but the employer reporting requirements aren't live until
Next year.
January, and Revenue doing lots of webinars at the moment, so I'd say that's where you probably get the answer to that, because that's a moving target at the moment.
Yeah, Kieran told me we've answered that already about the 80%. Kieran Donahue, have answered that. A spouse with a CGT profit. I use the other spouse's CGT. That's been asked a million times on the Tax World members area. Yes.
The answer is yes here, no in the UK, but yes here.
Yeah, CGT losses of a spouse can be offset against CGT gains of the other spouse, even where the CGT losses are carried forward. Mary Lally, is PAYE credit available for someone in receipt of US state pension, social security, or does it apply only to EU state pensions? Good one, Mary.
I think it should be okay, Mary.
Think so.
I think it is. I know. The only thing I would say to you is they changed the US treaty, and it's a bit awkward. And Roth IRAs and 401fs or 401ks and all this, it's a bit of a minefield. But because it is deemed employment income here, unless it's somehow carved out in that there's a protocol, like it's really convoluted, and again, there's a protocol to the Ireland US treaty, because the Yanks wanted to make sure we weren't ripping them off and stuff like that. So just US in particular is tricky, and there is a distinction between a private and a social security one. So that might merit a bit more research. On balance, I think it should be available, but I wouldn't be 100% sure.
And if you want to claim it and use the expression of doubt, if you can't find out, just always be aware that you can claim the expression of doubt if you've done enough research around it. You've looked up all the revenue tax and duty manuals, you've looked everywhere, and you can't get the certainty. Try my inquiries, and if they ignore you, then just use the expression of doubt. Is the capital gains tax included in income tax, or tax that needs to be filed separately? It's
a separate tax.
Separate tax.
And it's dealt with on the return, right?
Yeah. What expenses are allowable for CGT? If you go to taxworld.ie, tax checklists on the top left-hand side of the menu, if you're a member of taxworld.ie, you will get a downloadable list of what expenses are allowable for CGT.
Section 552 TCA.
Yeah, if you're not a member, then you should join. Where are old capital losses brought forward and no new disposal? Do you have to continue showing the capital losses forward in each tax year? Yes.
Yes, I think so. And just on that side, there was a bit of back and forth a couple of years ago with Revenue on that attack again, where they were trying to argue that if you didn't claim a loss in the Celtic Tiger and it was more than 4 years ago, you could go away with yourself. but that's now been clarified. So just make sure, I think the general comment, and it feeds into Alan's one as well, about doing the return correctly. Just make sure everything that should be there is there, and they should roll forward year on year.
Yeah, because in 3 years' time, revenue are going to be looking over returns, and even the slightest thing wrong, you'll find, you know,
It'll be whatever an aspect query is called now, a level 1.
yeah, there'll be some junior person looking at it, and then there'll be a surcharge imposed on you, and you'll be saying, "What the hell happened to me?" Even if it's a PAYE liability, or largely PAYE. Does joint assessment election need to be made before 31st of March, or the 2023 tax year, or is this date only in return to electing the assessable spouse?
I always get mixed up with that, Clinton. There is something does need to be done by 31 March. I think it is the joint assessment election. I think you're supposed to write in,
Yeah, I think joint assessment is automatic, unless you opt not to be joint assessed.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so basically, if you're a married couple, you're presumed to be jointly assessed, so you have to opt out of it. That's the so. Kira McLaughlin, if the client has an exclusion order, where does this go on the F11?
I'm not sure it does, because would that person be charged per person if they're only through payroll?
They would already be non-resident, so you'd be going in the very first section, personal details, non-resident. If a gift inheritance tax below the CAT threshold is omitted, would this be when identified leave you liable? Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said.
No, I don't think, because there's no tax liability yet, Connor, there probably wouldn't be, but there could be a fixed penalty or whatever. But I think revenue are trying to get to the point that they have this early tracker system going on. So like there might be an immediate hit, but it could draw scrutiny.
Yeah. Michael McGurk, I don't get that question. CGT, where are gifts? How is worldwide income computed for the purposes of calculating tax credits for non-residents?
You just get the equivalent of the P60 or whatever it is in the other country, and you use the gross income. I came across that actually. If you have someone with rental income here, it's the gross rental income, not the net rental income. So you put the Irish over the Irish plus the worldwide, and that's how you work it out.
Foreign trading profits need to be adjusted in line with Irish tax rules. Yes. Ganveer Singh, is there any limit on value of gift received in year which is not required to be declared? You have to look at the CAT thresholds. There's 3,000 a year from anybody. 3,000 a year from anybody, and then the normal CAT thresholds of up to 335 from a parent and 32,500 from a relative, and then 16,250 from a stranger. A farmer sells land with a cottage in Elmhouses and want a portion of the sale proceeds for. That's a fairly detailed question there. You should put that on the members area.
Or drop us an email.
Yeah, drop an email. That's fairly complicated. Lauren Robinson, if you sell a Spanish property and you pay Spanish CGT, can you deduct this from the Irish CGT? You get a credit against the Irish tax if it's the same under the treaty.
You put it in the CGT section, Lauren. There should be a thing there. Alan touched on it there at the end about claiming credit for the Spanish CGT, and that's allowed under the treaty. Spain gets first dibs because the property is in Spain, and Ireland gets the second bite.
Yeah. A colleague recently had a case with the revenue where the client's wife, Class S was disallowed with the revenue. She hadn't 50% of the shares. You mentioned 15%. I think that's right. It's just the definition of a proprietary director for income tax is different than the definition of a proprietary director for social welfare. So that is correct. But if you can get the social welfare to say that she is Class S, revenue won't fight with social welfare on it. So artist exemption, what if income 75,000? Is the first 50,000 still exempt, or is it all taxable? I think the first 50,000 is exempt, 25 is taxed. Yeah,
but the entire 75 is the pure sign.
Yeah. In the account, Susie McCarthy, in the accounts extract section for the purchase box, do you input just purchases, or is it net of opening purchases and closing stock? I'm
not sure.
I think it's just purchases. 18 Donnelly Entrepreneur Relief, is it at 0%, 10% up to 1 million, even though the money is from a North of Ireland company? 18 Donnelly, if you're looking at Entrepreneur Relief, have a look at the tax checklists on the Tax World website. There is a checklist for Entrepreneur Relief. You need to go through it line by line and look at section 597 AA and make sure you meet all the conditions.
But in principle, if someone is resident here and they make a disposal of EU or EEA, it should qualify, but I'd be checking to see whether you have a tax liability in the north as well, and then you've been to credit.
CGT, where are gifts to children and shares redeemed by company on retirement declared on F11? Michael McGurk, I don't quite get that question. If you want to drop me an email on it, I'll have a look at it. Dependent relative credit, what does this cover?
There'd be guidance on it, I
There's
think.
guidance in the guide. Read the guide,
Yeah.
Sarah McGuinness. It's in the guide. Earned income section. What would you need to declare proceeds of critical illness policy here? I don't think that's earned income. I think that's like
That's not exempt, no, that's
No.
probably taxable, I think.
yeah. I think they want to know where they get the credit. But
Okay.
is there a copy of the
Yes,
slides?
here.
It's all there. Yeah, Lauren Robinson. Somebody renovated a rental property. The full amount allowable as this capital allowance, or you're required to restrict.
No, that's a complicated question, Aaron. You'd have to spell that out.
That's an email.
Yeah, email.
And there's no capital allowances for rental property. The capital allowances are only on fixtures and fittings. You don't get capital allowances for improvements to the property. If a client does not know if DWT was deducted, they should know, because they would get a slip from the company. They're supposed to get a document.
Go back to wherever they got the dividend for and ask for the details.
Yeah, they're obliged to give it to you. But Karen Murphy, if a client is married and has rental income in Ireland, a couple living in Switzerland, can they claim aggregation relief? They can. You just need to have a chat with Revenue about it through my inquiries, and they will decide what you're entitled to. It's done through my inquiries. Bernard McGuire, reduced rates of USC. Okay, yeah, thanks for telling us that. 2 years employment income worked in Dubai, fully taxable in Ireland. No, there is a relief under section, it's around 821, where if you're working abroad, you're non-resident, but you're ordinarily resident in Ireland, you don't pay tax on foreign employment income. You need to look at that. Section 821, 821 or 822, 822, I think it is. Is DWT deducted from UK dividends? No.
DWT is an Irish service, but you just tax the net dividend received here.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, they give you an implied tax credit of 10% on UK dividends. I think we're coming to the end of this. We'll just do one or two more, and the rest of you just maybe just send us an email or whatever. If a taxpayer invests into an EII fund, is it the date of that payment or the date when the fund invests into the EII companies?
You should be getting regular updates from the fund as to what has been expended by what date. I've seen that in a couple of cases with, I think, BVP is the fund that I've seen a couple of guys invest in. They send regular updates as to what qualifies at a particular date. So one should have landed now for the 22 fund, saying how much is in, and that's what you can claim. That's Bernard just confirming that.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. If I use my personal motor vehicle for work, yeah, can I claim the 24 in addition?
Just came down to that.
Yeah.
Just because we're near the end.
Yeah. What's ICC? Incapacitated child credit.
Don't know that one.
Did you ever see ICC refuse? Yes, there have been tax appeals in relation to incapacitated child credit, and some of them have been refused. So you need to look them up on the Appeal Commissioner's website, or in the section in Tax World in the notes relating to the appeal cases or the appeals. There's a long list of cases there to do with incapacitated child credit.
That nursing home one, sorry, share profit received, but offset I presume that's rental income, because you're hardly around the nursing home, so I imagine that's rental income, but I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, send me an email.
Yeah.
No, that's not a full question. Sorry, can you offset a section 23 loss against other gains? No, you should be very careful, because it's in it's one or the other. You either get income tax relief or you get capital gains tax relief. You can't get both, so you need to be very careful on that one.
It's been answered quite a few times on the tax board members area. If you have a loss on the disposal of a property, and you also have used section 23 relief on that property, the loss, the amount of the section 23 relief claim reduces the loss.
And you have to get into debt forgiveness and all those things as well. So that's a complicated area.
Yeah.
Sale of woodlands and return relief. I have something in the back of my head that's tricky because I don't think you need to be carrying on a trade.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
not active.
I don't think it's an active trade. I
It's
think
passive. It's passive. You don't get retirement relief.
But there is a separate CGT exemption that we were looking at.
Yeah. Okay, we're skipping through some of the last ones. Gene Cashman, just to advise, there are still glitches in the CGT panel on the online Form 11. A fair point there, Gene. Do not always assume you were wrong when error messages appear. Absolutely fair point there, Gene.
I thought revenue were invincible.
Yeah, no.
Awesome. I'm surprised here, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. If you receive a gift and it stays under exemption, do you still need to report it? Yes, you do. That's
the 80% thing. Mortgage interest wasn't claimed 20, can it include 22? You can, but it's wrong and it might draw scrutiny. So I'd nearly go back and repair. And don't forget that if you're repairing now, you can repair with a penalty.
Yeah. Does a UK employment professional rugby player qualify for sports person tax relief? I don't see what.
I don't think so, David. I thought they had to be here, but check that.
Yeah.
That was my.
But then again, the EU angle.
No, I don't think so. I thought there was some issue about rugby lads going abroad, that there was some problem with that return through. I thought, I might be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't have any sporting clients, but I thought I read that somewhere. So I checked that out. Don't know what that 3% is in Spain. So if it's to do with CGT, yes. If not, no. But if it is an expense, like you need to, sorry, that's just too big. The person with the query there, if it's 3% in Spain.
I would say not, because I think it's not CGT.
Yeah, but it might be an expense deduction.
Yeah.
Against the game.
The CGT, I think, is 18% or 20%.
Yeah.
If a person bought and renovated a house to live in it as their PPR, but then sold it before completion, did it become their PPR as there is a loss on sale, so client wants to use the loss, but can't if it was a PPR loss?
But they didn't live in it at the end.
Yeah.
I think is the harsh answer probably. Like there's an awful lot of good stuff in the revenue TDM on PPR relief, but like they had to be living somewhere. So if they weren't living in that, where were they living?
You need to be very careful here, because there was a tax appeal last year where somebody bought a house and renovated it, and the revenue assessed them for income tax and succeeded before the appeal commissioners and managed to tax them as carrying on a trade. So, have a read of that appeal.
Yeah, well, but that might be bad on these facts if you can use that.
And get the loss, yeah.
Get the loss, but that's a very tricky one. You need to flesh that out a bit more and have it proper.
Yeah.
We're just coming up to almost 15 minutes over.
Yeah, so I think we're done, guys.
Don't scroll down to the very bottom.
I think we got them. Yeah, everybody's.
Yeah. No, I think yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do then, guys, is we will leave it at that. Thank you very much. If you do have, if you're a member of Tax World and you have a question that's not answered, you can put it on the Tax World members area. If you're an Azilia member of Tax World, you can ask the bot. Let me just see, can I share the screen and show the wonderful things Azilia can do? So in Tax World here, you can go to Azilia. When you go to ask and go to learn, and you can ask Azilia a question. I'll just take one of the questions here out of the bot. This is just randomly taken from a question. Hopefully Azilia will answer it, from Sarah McGuinness. And here we see Azilia actually answering the question. Giving you a fairly detailed answer there. It also tells you where the answer came from. I don't know if it'll answer this one, but we'll try it. So this is just Azilia showing off here what she can do. So if you're a member of TaxWorld and you haven't yet upgraded to Azilia, now's the time to do so. And particularly given the next few weeks, just the amount of work to be done in filing tax returns. So you can see that these questions are picked randomly from the Q&A. I didn't actually, cherry pick them, just picked randomly, and you can see there Azilia is well able to answer them. So with that, guys, we will end the webinar. Just to point out too that there is a webinar coming up on the early December. I think it's on the 8th or the 9th for tax planning, and we'll be writing to you about that fairly shortly to give you full details of it. And we look forward to seeing you at that. I'd like to thank Gary and all the team here in TaxWorld, Roberto and Rachel and everybody here for making this webinar so successful. And we will see you all at the next webinar, and see you all very soon. So take care.
Cheers, folks. All the best.